Hello everyone, it's the Pacer again. Welcome to another model review video. This time we've got the Britbus AEC Swift, the shorter of the two lengths they did. I've already done a model review video of one of these. I did the single door version in Hanson Sussex livery. I'll put a link in the description to this video to that one if you want to watch it. But this one I've got is the two-door version, and it's the London Country one in delivery of Stevenage Superbus. It's catalogue number AS206. It was released in September of 2005 and there were 1008 of them produced. I've already covered the history of Britbus themselves in other videos. Have a look through my channel for those. And I did cover the history of Stevenage Superbus as well in the review of the EFE Road Leyland National in this livery. So again, if you're interested in that, I'll put a link in the description to the Leyland National review as well. And you can have a look at that, and there's some history of Stevenage Superbus in there. So for now, let's take it out of the box and let's have a look at it. There is some sort of transfer in the bottom of the box saying pay here. I'm not quite sure if that's actually off the bus or if it's an aftermarket part that the previous owners bought and put in. So this particular one's lost its limited edition certificate. It's not got a certificate with it. So it was a little bit cheaper. As regular viewers will know, I normally try and buy the cheapest model I can find to do these reviews. So that's why it was a bit cheaper. It doesn't have its limited edition certificate, and that does cut the value down somewhat. So this is a model of DPD 482J, which was fleet number SM482. As we said, it ran for London Country. It was new in March of 1971. It went into service in Stevenage in that same month. In July of 1971 it was moved to Leatherhead, but in January of 1972 it was repainted into the Superbus yellow and blue livery. It was originally green and cream, or green and yellow should I say. Repainted into Superbus yellow and blue livery, and it was moved back to Stevenage, where it went back into service in February of 1972. It was repainted into National Bus Company green in April of 1976 and transferred to Dunton Green near Sevenoaks. November 1976 it went to Windsor, so it was quite well travelled really for one of these. But in February of 1978 it was stored, and then in October of 1978 it was sold to CF Booths of Rotherham for scrap. So it was scrapped at the age of just 7 years and 7 months. So we'll have a look around the model. As I say, I've reviewed one of these before, but I'll do it again just because it's a different model, and if you haven't watched the other one, you can see this one. So the front end, we'll start with that. Shape and size of it is pretty good. The front dome looks the right shape. These little ventilation grills, which are a feature of these buses, are partly cast in as well. They're not just printed on, there is some relief to them, and they look really, really good. The blind, as is usual on a Britbus model, is behind the glazing material, so it looks like it's behind glass. And again, that looks pretty decent. It does capture the somewhat hemmed in appearance of the rail destination blinds on these buses. The windscreen is also good. They had a barrel shaped windscreen. The shape of it isn't quite correct on this, but it's not far off at all, and it does look from normal viewing distances exactly like it should basically. The wipers are separately fitted, and they're a very nice feature. They do tend to stand proud of the screen a little bit on these vehicles. They get bent a little bit, but be careful if you try and bend them back because they will snap off. You've got the tax disc holders and things like that on the printed onto the window there, which again is a nice feature. Come down, again there's a little bit of relief to that grille there. Lettering's nice. The lights are made to look like the actual proper glass, and it all looks really good. Again, shape and size, panel lines, everything is there that should be. The mirrors look quite solid for once on Britbus. Sometimes they snap off. I've just finished reviewing a Metro rider and I managed to break a mirror off during the review video, which is quite impressive, but these look a little bit more solid. I still wouldn't catch them too heavily though if I were you. The indicators, as well as they should be on these buses, sticking out from the top of the corner pillar there, which again is correct. Go around to the near side, again it looks pretty good really. The shape size as they should be. The doors, there is some relief to them, not just painted onto the glazing material. The steps look pretty good. That one's a little bit warped, which is slightly strange, but it doesn't mar the appearance too much. The glazing's fitting slightly strangely, which is a common feature on Britbus. The build quality wasn't always as it should be. This front window's kind of sticking in a bit at the leading edge, and it's kind of bent round a bit. The only way to cure that, of course, is to take the bus apart and push it back in again. You've got the no entry lettering on the window there, which is where it was put on these vehicles to tell passengers not to get on through the centre door. I'm not quite sure why London Transport, who specified these vehicles, put it up there, because obviously if you were climbing through the centre door, it's highly unlikely that you're looking upwards and to the left to read the warning notice at the top of the window next to you. But anyway, that's where they put it, and that's where it should be. So again, it's a good feature. The opening windows look good. Again, the opening window detail is moulded onto the glazing and picked out in paint, so that looks good. The wheels look as they should do. As you can see, the wheel isn't quite fitting properly on the axle. It does wobble about from side to side as you push it up and down. So if you're running this up and down the carpet, just be aware of that. There are some bits and pieces of sort of transfers and things in there, which I'll come to the interior in a bit, so we'll go back to that. You've got the Stevenage garage plate there, SV, and the duty number 47 as well, which is a nice little feature. Go around to the back again, it looks pretty good. The number blind, again, behind the glazing material, so it looks like it's sort of behind glass. The back window with this hinged emergency section in the middle, as it should be. Again, that's moulded in, it's not just printed on. You've got the, I believe that was either stopping or reversing. I think it's reversing to read it. Light there, that looks good. The registration plate where it should be. The lights on these vehicles look a bit weird. They're just painted on. There's no relief to them. They're not moulded, and they do look a bit strange. And it's a shame because the rest of the back looks really good. The details kind of moulded in and stuff, and it looks really, really nice. And you've got these just painted lights dumped on, which look really, really odd. Not much you can do with them. If you get a fine black lining pen, you might be able to just put a black line between them just to give them a bit more oomph. But yeah, it's very, very strange. It's one of these weird decisions that Britbus made sometimes. I believe the engine cover is supposed to open, but on this one it doesn't. I've reviewed quite a lot of Britbus models, and a lot of them, the engine covers are stuck shut. It doesn't bother me because I have them shut anyway. But it's one of those things, if you put a feature on a model, like an open engine cover, it should open really, shouldn't it? And that's, again, as I've said before on Britbus reviews, they put a lot of effort into the planning and design of the models. They did, loads of casting variations and things on them. They really went to town on it, and then they often let themselves down with silly mistakes, with build quality issues like that one. And, as I said, weird detailing decisions like just painting those lights on and not putting any relief. We'll come around to the offside, it looks pretty good. Again, there's some relief to that grille there, that's really, really nice to see. Just try and zoom in on that a little bit. Again, the wheels look good, the windows look good. The offside wheel, again, is wobbling about a little bit as well, as you can see. Fuel filler, there's a recess sort of cast in, and the fuel filler sticks out from that, so that looks good. Emergency exit, as it should be. Moulded in as well. Some Britbus vehicles had the emergency exits printed on, but not this one. This is the outline of it's moulded into the casting, which is good. Again, the windows fit in slightly strangely. I don't know if you can see they kind of dip in and back out, and that's kind of not quite at the right angle and things like that. Again, what I mean about build quality issues. The roof, there's not much to report on it as there wasn't on the rail roof, but the panel lines are nicely moulded in. Some presumably ventilator detail there as well. If we go over to the chassis, again, you would expect quite a bit on a Britbus chassis, and you've got quite a bit. The chassis framework is there. The recess for the steps, the fuel tank, the exhaust system. It's not quite as detailed as a lot of Britbus ones, but it's still not bad. You've got the underside of the engine there, the transmission, all that kind of thing, and then you've got a representation of the steering, and the axles at the front do actually steer. Although because the wheels aren't quite mounted correctly, as we've seen moving it up and down, they don't quite steer at the correct angle, but they do. You can steer the wheels, have it posed, steering around the corner. The interior, these buses, I don't believe the ones in Stevenage actually had the turnstiles on. Some of them in sort of central London service did have turnstiles, and this bus has got a turnstile interior. You can see the barriers there between the sort of pay driver flow, where you went and paid the driver as normal, and the self-service bits. There's some barriers there. There's a turnstile you can just about see sticking across. It's all very nice detail. I'm not quite sure that these buses in Stevenage actually had it. And again, that's the sort of lettering that you can see on the top of the luggage rack there. It's all related to the turnstiles and things. So it is nicely detailed. As I say, I don't think these vehicles actually had it on, but anyway. The floor's done in a light brown colour, the seats are done in the correct blue. The seat backs should be a different colour. I think they were grey in real life, so you could take the bus apart and paint that. It's a bit of a shame that the interior walls are yellow, because it does kind of detract from the appearance a little bit, but again, it would benefit from taking the bus apart and just painting it. But all in all, it's not bad at all. Words of warning, as I often do on Britbus reviews. Some of the Britbus castings suffer from a form of Mazak rot, as they call it. And the castings involved tend to be the AEC Swift and Merlin, i.e. the one we're looking at, and the Leyland Atlantean. I reviewed the Atlanteans separately. Now, these buses are a mixture of plastic. The window pillars tend to be plastic, and the bits underneath are a kind of alloy metal, a form of Mazak. First of all, if you're taking one apart, be careful, because the plastic window pillars are very, very brittle, very fragile, and it is very easy to break them. So just a word of warning there. But what can happen sometimes with these is that the alloy metal, the Mazak, begins to swell outwards. It begins to bulge out. The side becomes a different shape to what it should be. You can't cure it. I've tried various ways. If you try and push it back, the thing just breaks into a million pieces. The first one of these I've owned finished up in my spares box, or anyway, the roof, the glazing and the chassis did. The rest of it was just fragments, basically, in a dustpan and brush. I've also tried on other models cutting it out, using a fine razor saw to cut out the affected part, with the view to putting a bit of plastic in to return the body to its square format. But that doesn't work either. No matter how carefully you saw, no matter how fine a saw you use, it still breaks into a million pieces. So what I would say, if you're buying one of these in real life, have a good look at it. If you're buying one on the internet, have a look at the photos. If there aren't enough photos of it, then just walk away, basically. This one looks square and true, so it doesn't appear to be affected by it. Not all the buses they produced are affected by it, but it's not particular releases either. I can't say to you that this catalogue number is unaffected and another one is affected, because it doesn't work like that. You'll get some of these like this one that are absolutely fine, and other ones where they start to bulge out. Exactly the same release. It just, you know, it's the look of the draw. So yeah, have a look at it, see what's happening. There is a very slight distortion to the side of this, but it's kind of bowing inwards rather than outwards, so it might be alright. The chassis is a little bit loose, it does move around a little bit, but it's not too bad. One of the signs when it does start to bulge out is that the chassis comes loose, because obviously the body's not holding it in properly anymore. But this one isn't too bad. It was quite common on Britbus to have a fairly loose chassis anyway. So yeah, it doesn't seem too bad, but just keep an eye out. If you're buying a Swift or a Merlin, or as I say, an Atlantean double-decker, just be very, very careful and don't pay stupid money for them. I've seen the Atlanteans for sale for over £100. You'd be gutted if you'd paid that much. And you look at it in a year or two's time and it's starting to bulge out and it's just useless. It's not, as I said, they're not savable. They will, I don't know what happens if you just leave them to do it organically, whether they just blow to pieces in the end. But they look horrific anyway when they start to do it. As I say, not all of them are affected. You may be lucky, but just, I would never pay a lot of money for one of these releases, the Swift, the Merlin or the Atlantean, because you've got that risk that it might start to bulge out and become basically an expensive pile of spare parts. So while we're talking about price, how much would you pay for one of these vehicles if you wanted one? Well, I paid £17 plus £5 something postage and packing. This one was quite cheap because, as I say, it's lost its limited edition certificate somewhere along the way. Have a look on eBay for the purposes of this video. I'm doing it in December 2024, so the prices are correct to then. Cheapest one I could find on eBay was £16.20 with free postage. That was a London Transport red version. The most expensive was £50 including postage, and that was a London Country green version, so somewhere between £16 and £50. If you want the Superbus one, there was only one for sale on eBay when I looked. It was £34.50 plus £5.50 postage and packing, so £40 all in. So I was quite lucky to get this one for just over £20. But as I say, it's because it hasn't got a certificate on it. A quick look at TCC die casting. The one day I had was an A1 service one at £49.99. They are quite sought after, the A1 service from up in Scotland. Then Liz Keith, the Eastbourne model shop that I sometimes shop with, the cheapest one they had was £21 for a London version, a red one, and £30 for another London version, another London red one, and they also had a London country one at £30. Postage and packing on top for both them and TTC. You're looking at about a £5 postage and packing, which would take your A1 service one at TTC to £55, and your list key to somewhere between 26 and 35. That is the kind of money you're looking at. The Superbus one, relatively scarce. They do come up quite a bit. You will find them sporadically, but it's not one of those models where you just look and there'll always be one available. So if you want the Stevenage Superbus, you may have to wait a little bit. But yeah, all in all, it's not a bad model. As I said, there are some little build quality issues, as you would expect with Britbus. The wheels look a bit wobbly, the glazing isn't quite fitting correctly, and as usual, there seems to be annoying little flecks and marks on the roof in places as well. But all in all, it's not a bad one. I do recommend it. As I say, I would be very careful if you're paying stupid money, because just be aware that it may develop masoch rot in the future. But yeah, as always, thank you for watching, take care, and I will see you soon. Bye for now.